Hey everybody, it's Josh from May Handmade. I'm going to take this Yeti a friend of mine gave me. I'm going to go ahead and put a engraved logo onto it with my laser here, my XTOOL D1 10 watt non-pro edition. So I'll go through the setup that I usually do and take you through the steps of what I do every time that I do something like this. Okay, so you can see this pattern, the logo that's going to go onto this tumbler. You can see a little bit better there. I've got it in Laser Box Basic, and I've taken the cup, so on the tumbler itself, decide where you want to put the logo, which this one's going on this side, and I want it visible from one side when you're looking at it. So what I do on these is I have a flexible tape measure. I use the metric side, and I'll look at what size fits it. You know, basically eyeball it and see what will fit on this particular cup from edge to edge. So I can see that I can see about 95 millimeters in my field of view from one side. So knowing that, and the height is not critical because I got a lot of room to work with. So click your logo, make sure that it's cropped down to the size that you want, and then in the width you make it 95. So basically what I did here, on any rounded surface, when you're looking at a curved surface, it's going to need to be stretched by 10% in this direction, side to side, so that it will look round when you're looking at it from the straight on direction. So if you put it round perfectly in the program, it will look like an oval that's taller than it is wide. Even though it is symmetric, it has the illusion because of the curve. The curvature makes it look not round. So simply increasing your width by 10% will take care of that, and the straight on view will look more round. So got Yeti out of the way. And the intent of this is this color, it's kind of, when it's shiny, it doesn't show well on the green. So this light green, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna burn it darker than I should and not clean it as well, so that it will stay in a dark color instead of being shiny like the shiny stainless, so that it's more visible on the lighter color. Okay, so I know that 95 millimeters is how wide I can go. So knowing that, I sized it at 88, and then I unlocked the aspect ratio. There's a little lock button in between your width and height, and then I changed the width to 95. So you can see that this logo is a little bit stretched in the width direction, and that's what I want, so that it will appear round on the cup. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and switch on the laser so that it boots up. That way in the program I can pick my output. So go to your serial port, COM5, whichever COM port yours is in. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate, because I'm going to be using the rotary, just the standard rotary, not the RA2. So with the standard rotary, your sizing can be completely correct. The ratio of the rollers is correct for the axis. If you use the RA2, the ratio is not correct. You have to account for flipping and mirroring and about a 40% reduction in width because of the different ratio of turns that it experiences on that rotary. So you have to do a lot of testing with the RA2 to make sure that your burn is going to come out as expected before you actually burn it. So I'll go through that in another video on how to use the RA2 and try to go through how I do my test prints or test lasering to make sure that it happens right before I actually burn the customer's cup or whatever cup that I'm burning into, because that's permanent and I can't redo that, you know, so I want to test it before. And it's pretty simple. I'll run through that in another video, but for this one we're going to be using the regular rotary, which is just the regular foam rotary. So I've got the rotary set up, and this doesn't matter. I've got everything marked. You can see the table. I've got a grid on the table, and this we're not going to need this time. So on my table I have it marked for 60 to 70 millimeter cup, which is this one. I can line up my rotary tool on that line and make sure that it's square, because I 3D printed these holders, one for that corner and one for that corner. Sorry, the focus got a little messed up. You can see one in that back corner. So that keeps everything good. I cut this grid after I put in those hold downs, so I know that this grid is completely square to the machine. So that means I can put this rotary tool along these lines and know that it's going to be squared. So back to the machine here. So in that mode, since the aspect ratio, everything is going to be correct for what's on the screen going into this rotary, I can rotate this 90 degrees, because the top of my cup is going to be to the right. And I want to burn it darker than normal, so I'm going to go coated metal. I'm going to leave the speed at 70, but the thing that's going to make it darker is I'm going to go 160 lines per centimeter. So 160 lines, if you leave the speed alone, it will burn too hot and it will cause it to discolor and get dark on you, just because of the overlap of the increased line count. It tends to burn more in each place instead of moving on to the next line. So when you raise your line count, you either have to lower the power or raise the speed to compensate for that overlap, so that you have a clean burn and your cup cleans off nicely. So I turned it 90 degrees, my width, height, everything is what I want. The burn, I'm going to drop this down a little on speed. I'm going to do 65 along with the 160 lines per centimeter. Everything else is set up correct. So I will press the start button, even though my cup is not ready yet in place, but I can run you through the setup of that. I always locate mine from the center of the top of the design. You're going to want to turn cylinder working on, and your framing speed, always turn that down. It comes in at 50 when you first open the program, and that will cause the tumblers to just jump all over the place if you frame at that speed, and then you're going to have to reset it up. On LaserBox, I know for a fact that I've tried this every time, and the time that you see here, it says 51 minutes. It's always exactly half of that for me. So it says 51. I know that it's going to be 25. That's a good burn for this. It's quite a bit of burning. So we'll step away from that for a minute, and we'll set up this side of it. So setting up the tumbler, this one's a water bottle. Either way you look at it, they all set up the same. I'm gonna take the lid off, I see that my rotary tool is already squared up. These tumblers, they don't sometimes grip as well on this foam. So what I do is I take a bigger, kind of heavier socket, put it off inside here, and since this one's got a lot of room, I'm going to put another little weight inside there. But when you put a weight, make sure that it's either big enough to fill up the space so it doesn't tumble inside, or like I've done, get a round or cylinder shaped object that can roll when this thing turns, so that it doesn't cause any jumping in the motion, because that will cause lines in your pattern and it's not going to be good. It's going to look bad. You're just not going to be happy with it because it's going to get messed up. So make sure it's round, or you've got something solid in there that takes up the entire space, like a bean bag or something like that. So next, we're going to go ahead and focus. So I'm loosening up. I drop my little kickstand. I'm going to go to the center of the cup. Let that rest on there, tighten it up, pick that up. It's locked down, it's ready to go there. You see this piece of tape. So through trial and error, I know that when I set it up on this line, like I showed you with the 60 to 70 millimeter line, I marked this so that every time I would know where center of that is. So all I do is line up with this tape on the edge. So this edge right here lines up with this back edge, and that will be the center of the cup. So then I can just worry about the height of it, and I know that it's going to be 88 millimeters tall. So I will take my same measuring tape, flexible measuring tape, and 88 millimeters tall. So we're talking from here to here. Yeah, that's actually a good height, so I'm going to go with that. Now the only thing left is to make sure it's centered. I want it centered with this Yeti logo. So I'm going to measure the logo. I'm going to start at a higher increment because I can't see the end here. So it looks like it is about 38 millimeters. So 38, we're talking 19 to the center. So 19 to the center. That's it. Just inside of the E as the center of the design. So since I like this height, I'm going to go ahead and measure how high it is from the top, which it looks like it is 45 millimeters from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here, and I'm going to make sure that my cup tumbler is centered with the Yeti logo on the crosshairs from the laser. So that's right at the inside of the E that I measured. And then I'm going to come back up here and put it back at 45. About right there. Okay, so everything's focused, it's ready to go. Now all we have to do is press start. So another thing I like to do sometimes, put an object back here in the back just to keep the tumbler from moving back and forth in case it does try to move. It doesn't take a lot. I keep some of these blocks of 2x4s, a couple of them. So I'm just going to sit these back here, just up against it. It doesn't have to be really hard. It just keeps it from moving at all, just in case it tries. And just the rotating motion is not really going to cause any problems there. So it is ready to go. And I'm going to go in the program and I'm going to press start, and I'll let you watch the engrave in fast motion. Remember everybody, when you're watching your laser, make sure you got your goggles on. Even the kids got it. So protect yourself, goggles on, well ventilated area. You don't want to smell the fumes, they're not good for you. You can see that the Engrave came out nice and dark the way that I intended it to, so that you can see it really well in this lighter color. I'm going to take these weights out without messing up the cup. You can see here, see that came out nicely. Nice and centered with the logo, with the Yeti logo. Came out nice and dark. Now in this case, I'm not going to scrub this a lot like I normally do to get everything nice and polished and shiny. I'm just basically going to take it over to my sink and I'm going to clean it with dish soap and a sponge and retain as dark of a color as I can so that it shows up really well on this light color. So let me go give it a little scrub and I will bring it right back and show you the difference. Okay, here we are. I just scrubbed it with dish soap and a sponge and water. You can see that it stayed nice and dark. The finish actually fits the design really well. You see it stands out really good against that lighter green. So I've done greens like this before, and when you make it shiny, it's just kind of hard to see the design. This was just trying something different, make it dark, kind of burn the metal a little bit and etch it, engrave it, make it look nice and dark. And this should hold up just fine to normal washing, and it should stay nice and dark for a long time. And if it wears out, then it'll just be a shiny design instead of a black one. So this was intentional. This is the way I wanted it to happen. It came out just right. Hope you guys learned something from the video, enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.